Benvenuti, everyone. I'm Natalie Smargiassi, President for Italian Portland. Thank you for joining and welcome to our event, Finding Our Italian Dream in Umbria, Italy. It's great to have you all here today. And I would like to start out with introducing our speakers today, Amber and Dal Tibb. I first learned of Amber and Dal when one of their videos popped up in my YouTube feed. I was intrigued to see that they had purchased a home in Italy very close to my house there, and they are also setting up a restaurant. So I reached out to them and asked if they would come and do a presentation for us about their experience. Amber and Dal live in North Carolina with their 2 children and will share with us today their experience of chasing their Italian dream to own a piece of Italy for their very own. So many people around the world dream of owning a home in Italy. Today we hear from Amber and Dal, who went after that dream and made it a reality. They bought a home in the town of Giove in the province of Umbria during COVID, in fact, and have started a project to renovate a restaurant there. Today we travel to the enchanting town of Giove in lovely Umbria, very close to the fabled cities of Bomarzo, Narni, and Amelia, among many, many other enchanting hill towns of this area. Giove has a fantastic medieval castle, spectacular views of the Umbrian countryside, and it's a true piece of authentic Italy. Amber and Dal will tell us the story of their home search in Italy and also their project to create a restaurant in the historic center of Giove. They will explain where Giove is located, and if you all attended my presentation last February about my house renovation in Gallese, Italy, you will see that they are very close to my home. Both Gallese and Giove are just off of the A1 autostrada that goes from Rome to Florence, and we are only 2 exits apart on the autostrada as it runs through the Tiber River Valley. And for those of you that aren't aware, the Tiber River Valley, or the Tiber River, is the same river that runs through Rome. You can follow Amber and Dal on their YouTube channel, Our Little Jupiter, Giove, Umbria, Italy, as they add more videos in the coming months with updates from Giove. You can also see all of their past videos there as well. Our presentation today will run for about 30 to 35 minutes, and then we'll have about 20 to 25 minutes available for the Q&A session. Please post your questions in the chat. Once Amber and Dal have finished their presentation, we'll answer as many questions as time allows. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Amber and Dal, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Good. Yes, I want to thank you, Natalie, for reaching out to us and allowing us the opportunity to share our adventure with all of you about our dream in Italy and how that formation came about. So we'll start with Dal kind of giving a little background of what led us up to actually purchasing a property in Italy.
Okay.
Thank you, Natalie. It's quite an honor and privilege to present our story here, our dream of having lives in Italy. So it kind of all started when after we met, I surprised Amber with a trip to Venice for a long weekend, piggybacked onto a trip when I was visiting my family in London. And I think that's probably when it all started for us as a couple. And then successive trips after that, we started talking about, well, you know, wouldn't it be nice to have a second home there, or maybe a little place to go in the summer, somewhere to take the kids. We've both always had a love for Italy. Amber's got some ancestry that goes back to Italy. And so we started looking at properties out there, and Amber would send me all these listings to look at, and I'd kind of flick through them and, you know, say, no, this one's, you know, too expensive. This one's not well located. And then she sent me this one, and it was just perfect, had everything we wanted in terms of location and pricing. So it's kind of, that started the dream for us.
Yeah. So the first video that we made for you will kind of go into a little bit about the area, the town, and why we picked this location. Okay.
Sounds great. Let's get going.
Right. Hope everybody enjoys. Italian Portland, we are so thrilled to be invited to present at today's virtual event. In a chaotic world of busy life, we all share a common love for the Italian culture. It keeps our hearts full and our minds grounded. We are honored to share our story with you, and we really hope that you leave this virtual event with joy in your heart, excitement in your mind, and a desire to further your Italian dream. Enjoy. If you haven't seen either of our previous videos, you may not know who we are. My name is Amber and my husband's name is Dal, and we have 2 children. We live in the United States. Although I'm from California, my husband is from London. We've always had a love for Italy. During the pandemic, we bought a cute, adorable apartment located in the city of Giove, Umbria. We also are renovating a restaurant in Giove, Umbria, that we plan to have the locals take over and run as their own. In this video clip, I'm going to discuss the town of Giove, why we picked it, and what is unique and special about it. Let's first talk about where the heck Giove is. Where is Giove? Giove is located in a very convenient location. This is one of the many reasons why we chose to invest in Giove. Giove is in the region of Umbria, which is located above the region of Lazio. Lazio is the region which holds Rome. Rome, as you know, is one of Italy's largest cities. Well, Giove is only 45 minutes north of Rome via car or train. Giove is also located on a main artery freeway and on a main artery train route that can take people to all areas of Italy, north or south. So this is one of the many reasons why we picked Giove, because going to Giove is a convenient location to hang your hat or stop off and visit when you're on your way going to see all the other major sites of Italy. Giove, being located in the region of Umbria, comes with a very ancient and rich history. The area of Umbria was once occupied by 2 ancient tribes, the Umbri and the Etruscans. These tribes date back pre-Roman, 1000 BC. You can see many different museums and tombs of these ancient people all in and around the area surrounding Giove. The rise of ancient Rome meant that the ancient people of Umbria were absorbed into Roman culture and civilization. They were gradually subjugated by the Romans in the 4th through the 2nd centuries BC. Although the region kept its name Umbria, named after the ancient people that lived there. So ancient Rome occupied the entire region for centuries. In fact, the name Giove comes from the Old Latin word Jupiter. Dal and the videographer now take a little walk to explore the medieval district together.
Are there people living in the medieval part?
Yeah, most of them are, I believe, occupied. And then should we just walk around? almost like, feels like something's left over from the Roman times or the Etruscan times. Festival here in the summer times, I think it's in August. And I've seen pictures where they do music here. And they have, right here, you can see it online. You can see some of the musicians sitting around the well here.
Okay, so hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of an insight into our town and a little history about our region. So now we're going to explore the actual real estate investments that we've made in the town. So I'll go ahead and get that started. Unless there's anything else you need to say, Natalie?
Yeah, I just noticed that it's so nice to see that castle with all of the scaffolding removed, and everyone could really see that panoramic view of the town. It's just located in such a great spot, looking down into that Tiber River Valley, and you have the town just sitting there with the castle looking out into the town, and it's really a beautiful spot. I did get a chance to go through there last spring when I was there, and it is really spectacular. So your video really showed that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we actually have a videographer that comes out of Rome. He's a younger guy and very talented, and he comes out there. So all of the footage that you're seeing is from him, and that scaffolding removed is recent footage. He just took that probably about 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead into the next one.
Okay, hold on, we'll get out of here and
In this part of our discussion, we're going to talk about the real estate journey in Italy. So as you know from the prior video, we picked this area because of its strategic location. We found an apartment in the city of Giove that consists of a really nice, cute office that overlooks the balcony. That's what we're looking on there, overlooking the castle and the road below. And then going into the living area, nice big living room. And that also overlooks the front side of the castle. And now we're heading down the hallway to look at the 2 bedrooms on this side. 2 bedrooms towards the back of the apartment overlook the Tiber Valley below. And at night you can see all the cities dotted off in the distance. So we love sitting out there on the little balcony and having our wine and looking over that valley. I don't show the whole apartment here, but you can get a good idea. Here's the 2nd bedroom that also looks over the valley below. The apartment did come fully furnished. So 2 bedrooms plus a small child's bedroom where twin bunks fit, 2 full bathrooms, a nice office area, large living room, small kitchen, and attic area where we can store all of our cleaning supplies, etc. So the apartment we got for 55,000 euro, and this was about 2.5 years ago. So that area, as far as we can see for apartment pricing, is still very good. The pricing has not changed too much. There's still a lot of abundance of real estate in that area. And if you ever want to look in that area, we do have great real estate contacts. Their office is right next to our apartment. We've actually become quite good friends with them, which is really handy if you have a second home to become close to the local real estate agency office, because they really help a lot when you need anything. Go check on it, or maybe need a painter there, plumber there, whatever. So that's been super helpful.
So Julia, you've been so helpful. It's great that you've been able to speak to us in English. And your office has been great, because from the first time we called you, you guys answered and were helpful. A lot of offices don't want to help because, you know, my Italian is so bad, and they hear that and then they're like, we can't help you. So
no, it was a pleasure for us to help you and your family. And also this way I practice a little my English, so it's good for us both. And also I wanted to say that we are glad to have people investing in this area, since right now is a very good moment for the market. Also we have like houses starting from 15,000 euros. So it's a very good time for buying here in Italy.
fantastic.
Summer of 2020, we go back to visit our apartment. We had already done quite a bit of research about the town and the area, but we were just so surprised to see how buzzing and active this little village was. I mean, there's this huge, beautiful castle, Castello di Giove, that dominates the town, and it's completely wrapped in scaffolding. There's construction trucks in and out, all these workers there every day working on it. So we are wondering what's going on, and then the locals tell us that the Italian government, in combination with the owner of the castle, are putting millions into renovating this medieval castle to its former glory, and it will be open for the public. The real estate agents took us on a nice walk around town to look at other property available for sale. At first we thought, well, maybe we'll look around and see if a friend or family member wants to invest in something. But then this one particular property caught Dal's eye. It was right across the castle entrance and definitely needs a lot of work, but the perfect opportunity to put a much needed restaurant. We have this bustling town and not a lot of restaurants, and a castle getting ready to open to the public soon. So we went ahead and placed an offer on the property. So So we were put in touch with the local architect. His office is right downtown and he's very familiar with renovating restaurants in around the area. He starts working on the project. He's also very excited about it because he too feels the town needs a restaurant. And then a few months after we got back from Italy on that trip, he calls us and says there's an additional space that we could acquire, which would add more square footage to the property and more unique square footage to the property. So Dal flies back to take a look and we're just so excited. This space is right next door to the existing space that we just purchased. However, it includes an underground grotto or cave, which can be used for a wine bar, additional seating. So now we're really excited because the restaurant is really starting to pan out into something unique and special.
Yeah, it's everything in there. It's a little rough. Do we need light? Should I get my camera out, you think? Just to kind of help out a little bit here? Just in case. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh, you got a lot of space in here. Yeah, so they, this was just being used for storage. You know, so it's like a storage shed kind of thing, and they saved out a lot of their stored stuff because you know we're going to be closing on it here soon, literally imminently. Yeah, I'm so surprised. Yeah, they haven't done anything with this space. This is a great space. Thing is, this storage space has a connection, and he believes that where that shelf is, we're just going to be able to knock through, okay, and then it'll be into the restaurant. Oh my God! Spaces are actually going to connect. So, which is going to make it even bigger. You know what? That space is a lot larger than what I thought it would be. Yeah. So, oh my God. So, I think that's right there. He's thinking wine bar here. Okay. Maybe even, you know, set up some downstairs area into the grotto where people can go drink wine. And then if people go from the wine bar and want to go have dinner, they'll go that way. But they'll have separate entrances still. You know, like if someone just wants to do the wine bar, they're here. If someone just wants to do the restaurant, they can go into the entrance to the restaurant. That's perfect. Isn't that great? Oh, that is great. Oh my gosh, this is really, really cool. This is like seeing it so cool like this. You know, hopefully this month. That's what I tell you. Maybe the Romans are coming and you make it look like this. Wow, this is really neat. Yeah. This is amazing. You know, they just basically scratched out the tufa stone and just created this like amazing space down here. It's got these little side areas, so they're going to put barrels, probably, you know, for the wine bar or store their wine down here because it's not up to temperature. You don't even need a refrigerator. It's like, oh wow, you got so much space down here. Isn't that crazy? It goes off sideways here. So just thinking in the plans, maybe some sitting areas here. Oh gosh, I cannot believe the right space we have here. So, is there more of that? Okay. So, how do you even come up with so much? Wow. So this, you can almost put barrels or shelving, you know, stuff like that down here, I think. And like right in the middle here is where you would want like a table or something. Yeah, yeah. He's put on the plans. He's put some tables, but you know, there's a lot of options. Wow. What is that down there? I'm looking for wine bottles. If you see any, I get tips. I don't know how old they might be. Hey, might even find some little Roman. Oh look, cisterna. Uh-oh. Is that bottles? Those are bottles. Is there anything in? No. Why don't you guys just leave me alone in here for a minute and
where we are in the process now, we have our chef in place and we have the project approved by the city. We have the people of the town very excited. In fact, last time we were there in June, the mayor sat down with us. He's excited, we're excited. Everybody's really excited about having this new project in town. Now construction begins any week. We are hoping that the restaurant will be open by December. I know that's a hopeful thought, but that is the plan. And we thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to listen to our journey. We hope we've inspired your love for Italy even deeper. If not to purchase something of your own, even just to get on a plane and go explore Italy more. And while you're there, perhaps you'll stop off and see our little town and come in our little restaurant and enjoy a nice meal and a glass of wine with us. Thank you again. Arrivederci.
Okay, so that went into a little bit of the real estate portion of our journey. And from here, I think we move on to, is there anything that I didn't cover before we get into?
You know what, I was just trying to remember, did you say that you had bought that apartment without seeing it first, if I remember, during COVID? Is that right?
We did. We
Yeah.
had the real estate agent go through and FaceTime us, the apartment, all the way from the street up to. We also did a lot of our own research using the Google Walking Man. You can go in all the cities and see all the different streets. The only places you usually can't go is road pedestrian only areas, but this apartment was not in a pedestrian only zone. So we really feel like we knew the apartment pretty well. And
we stayed in the area as well, not necessarily in that town, but
around
in the local
the
area a couple of times. So we kind of got a good feel for the area too.
And when we
so you more or less knew where it was, because
it was
there's a
actually
lot
better.
of so many of those little hill towns there, and then like I think you just got really lucky with, you got one that's easy to access. It has a great panoramic view. It's well laid out. It's not one that sometimes these towns you're climbing up and down to get in and out of the town, and this one is quite level. You can drive in, you can park. It's easy to park, and you have
that's good and bad. The bad part is I eat so much in Italy that I could probably use the extra exercise. I probably should have picked the town a little harder to walk in and out of.
Right. And also the price you paid was really great. The fact that you could move right into it, that you got all the furniture with it. Those are all great. Kind of, if you had a checklist of things that you're trying to hit, I think you hit all of them as far as trying to buy a property in Italy.
Especially for that price, for that price.
And then they always talk about these €1 homes. And when people talk to me about it, I say, go find a place that's already done, because you will not come out ahead on a €1 home. And the prices are so good. And
we checked into all the €1 homes. The biggest challenge we found with the €1 homes is a lot of the towns are not really in the best or easiest location to get to.
Exactly.
I think we're not fully retired yet, and in that phase where we can kind of take a long time to get in and out of the town. We wanted somewhere we can fly in, easy to drive to, in case we ever want to go, maybe even just for a week.
Exactly.
And those towns usually don't have the €1 properties.
Yeah, because some people that are really far out there, where we could fly to Rome, get in a car, and get to the location in a little over an hour, versus I know other people that are really remote and they're spending a whole extra day to get to their property. So they'll have to spend the night in Rome and take their other transportation. Sometimes these towns are way up in these kind of frightening roads to get up to.
They really are.
You're not in that situation.
And at the base of our town, we have a very active train station. So we actually have a lot of local residents that work in Rome. They train into Rome every day to work and train back. So it's that easy to get in and out of our town.
Yeah, the same thing in Galeazzi. We have people that commute into Rome. They just go to the little Galeazzi train station and hop on the train, and they're there in about 40 minutes to the central train station.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I have just 3 questions I was going to get started with just while people are posting questions in the chat just to get started here with the Q&A section. And so, yeah, thanks for both of those videos were just spectacular and really gave a beautiful view of what that area is like. So the first question is, what would you share with the audience that you wish you had known ahead of time for anyone who might be thinking of purchasing a property in Italy?
I think when we talked about that, the one thing that was most surprising to us that you mentioned it as well is how slow everything moves. It was a cash only deal. There's no loan. And it took, how many months did it take to close?
It was during COVID, so I think it took a little longer, but I think it ended up being almost 8 months to close.
So my only suggestion is if you want to buy something that you anticipate using immediately, it might not happen that fast.
Oh, very good point. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, things move kind of slow. I mean, even now that we've bought the restaurant space and the adjoining space, we've got to know the local area and the local people a little better. So it's moving a little faster, but it still seems, I mean, I think in the US here, we really get used to, 30-day closes, 45, 60-day closes, and people committed to that. But there it's just like,
yeah,
it'll happen when it happens.
Happens when it happens, and they don't really care what it said in the contract. It's like, it'll happen when it happens. So you just have to be very patient. Don't try to buy anything too close to the date that you want to actually use it, is my opinion. So if you want to use something in the summer, maybe start looking to buy something in the fall.
Yeah. And they don't really have buyer's agents. So everyone just sells, each agent just sells their own listings. So it's hard sometimes to get someone to actually be your advocate or help identify properties. So you really end up just looking yourself, which makes it a little harder to as a foreign buyer.
Yes.
Yeah. And you used some websites to identify properties and reach out to agents.
Yes. Yes. There's a few that we would be happy to share that we primarily used if anybody wants further information on that. There's one that is more of a collaboration. A Mobilieri is more of a collaboration of all of the listings. So you have to weed through a lot of really junky properties, which that's how I found the apartment. But if you want things a little more weeded out and geared towards the foreign buyer, Gateway is excellent.
So they have more turnkey type properties where
exactly
you
a lot more turnkey. Yes. And we follow the Gateway Facebook page, which that's how we found our real estate attorney, because it's very important to have a good real estate attorney. And I'm happy to share his information if anybody needs as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
that sounds good. Yeah, you do have to, if you can figure out a way to dig through all of the projects or the houses that are big projects and get to the turnkey properties, because the property is not that expensive to begin with. So why buy something if you're going to have to invest a couple of years of your life renovating it and you really don't have the time to do that? So,
yeah.
Okay. All right. So then the next question that I had was the castle renovation. It really looks amazing. Could you tell us more about the castle and then what it's going to be used for?
You want me to do this, or you want to go?
Sure, you go ahead.
Yeah, so the castle, once we started getting into the town and looking around and poking around and decided especially to work on the space for the restaurant, we reached out to the owner of the castle. We found they had some postings on Google and Facebook, and they were really responsive to us. And we met with the owner. He was kind enough to take us on a small tour of the space, and we asked him, what are you planning long term? And he said, they'd bought the property a few years ago and they'd worked on the renovations. And to give you some background, the place was really derelict for a while. It was kind of boarded up, and the townspeople were upset because nothing was being done with the space. But this new owner really was committed to bringing this place back to life. And they said ultimately they'd really be interested in maybe even having a hotel in there. For that use, but I think that's probably a little ways out. But I think initially they're going to be using it for public events once they open. That's a commitment they've made to the city and the local authorities, especially to get the funding to help do the renovations
and public tours, weddings,
events.
Big events.
Yeah. Having a central property like that where if that's open to the public and
Mhm.
is a draw for events, it really adds to some of these smaller towns that are really struggling to keep people there. It really helps to add to the life of the town and keep the businesses in business, because they
Mhm.
really have a problem with that now in the smaller towns. So the fact that the community undertook that and decided it was important, it's really great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Although our town is a little unique in that way, I do find that I mean, I know in some of the footage we showed you, it was filmed more in the spring months where it was a little slower. There's quite a bit of young people that already do live and work in the town because of its proximity to Rome.
Mhm.
So that does help. It already is
Helps.
pretty lively. I think this is
Mhm.
just going to make it even more lively. Like, you go on a Friday and Saturday night to our town and it's buzzing. There's
Yeah.
musicians, music, people, they come from all over and congregate there.
Wonderful. Yeah. It
Yeah.
sounds really nice. So, yeah, again, you lucked out with a great location. You really did. Okay, so then the third question I have before we start into the audience questions is, so please tell us a little more about your chef, how you met him and convinced him to come run your restaurant, and then what were you looking for in the chef that you finally chose?
So we first reached out to the architect to see if he knew of anyone that wanted to take over the restaurant, and he had a few ideas of people. So we were open to anyone local that, you know, obviously was a good chef. While he was coming up with people and no one was fully committed, and we hadn't even started the renovation, we thought about reaching out to an old acquaintance of ours. We met him about 8 years ago, traveling through Tuscany. He had a little restaurant about 30 minutes outside of Siena, and the food was just so delicious that every single time we go to Italy, we make a point to go back to his restaurant to eat there.
Mhm.
He's also very personable. He's the chef that comes out and has the shot of limoncello with you after dinner. He's very good at what he does. He's very talented. He's very creative. So we've been Facebook friends for a long time. So we just, on a chance, thought, well, let's just reach out to him and see what he's up to. And it just so happened that his lease on his restaurant is up in October, and he was looking to change locations. So he drove out to Giove this last summer, and we met with them and looked at the location. They went over everything, and we decided to go ahead and go into partnership with him.
Oh, great. That's so great that you know who you're dealing with and you have such a good level of confidence, and it'll make a world of difference, I'm sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, we feel very comfortable working with him just because we know him, we know his food, we know his
Family.
business acumen, and
Yeah.
we've got common friends from over the years now.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing
Yeah,
time.
food in Italy has just become so dynamic, and a lot of the chefs, and I think you mentioned this when we were talking earlier, that a lot of the chefs are looking back at the historical cultural dishes of the area and then adding a modern touch to them, really elevating the quality of the food. And so some of these restaurants, you can go and have a fantastic meal in, some of them actually in that area have Michelin stars. So you can have a fantastic meal at a price that you never would be able to see in the US. And
Oh,
very
absolutely.
true.
That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons. Yes, that area is definitely more affordable than Tuscany, and the food's amazing. In fact, we asked some of the younger people in our town, when I say younger, you know, 20s and 30s, because there are a big population of them too. You know, do you see just local cuisine, or do you want a little bit of cuisine from outside the areas? And they said for the older people in town have, you know, some of the staple traditional Umbrian, Jovian dishes, but the younger people, they like to see more of the Tuscan Southern. They like a little mix of everything. And that's one of the reasons we also chose our chef, because he can do all of those regions quite well. He's from the Bari area, but his wife is Tuscan. And he has a friend who owns several restaurants in Umbria as well, that they learn dishes off of each other. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, that sounds like a great, he's hitting all the marks on everything that you need.
Exactly.
Okay. Alrighty, so at this point, we'll go ahead and take a few questions from the audience. Not a question, but I just wanted to read it. It says, this is so fascinating, and I hope I can see this place in person.
Oh,
And
thank
then
you.
The next question is from Brenda, and she asked, did you use an Italian attorney to facilitate your purchases? And I know you mentioned that just briefly, but maybe you could go a little bit more into how that works.
Yes, that's a really good question. I think with the apartment being our first foray into purchasing in Italy, we kind of had an insecurity about, what are we doing? Can we trust everyone? What we realized is that, we felt a lot more comfortable finding an attorney and working with an attorney. So Amber, as she said earlier, she found our attorney on through a Facebook group, and then we reached out to him. He spoke English. He was fantastic, just a really, really great asset for us, just to oversee the titling and the transition and keeping, just keeping an eye on things. But I'd say I found out that you don't always necessarily need to do that. If you work with a reputable realtor that's selling the property, they usually have a reputation to uphold, and I'm sure they have guidelines on behavior. But what we've found is every time we've done our deals, it's just made us feel better.
Yeah, because he's not that expensive. He's
Yeah.
very affordable. He's on WhatsApp, immediately responds. And for me, it just feels more secure having someone translate the documents for you that can speak both languages as well.
Right. Yeah.
And like I said, we're happy to share that information with you in the end if anyone wants his information.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's good to have someone who can really translate those documents for you, because even if you are fluent in Italian, and I kind of consider myself fluent in Italian, but some of the wording that they use in those documents is very archaic. And so it's very archaic Italian, and it isn't always necessarily easy to understand, even if, you have some experience with Italian. So I think it's good if you have a good, solid attorney and someone that can make sure that you get the real correct English translation of the document.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good question.
Okay. So the next question is from Christine, and the question is, how is your Italian?
We have an Italian exchange student here right now, but she's very quiet. So we were hoping we could learn some from her, but otherwise we know how to order food.
Okay.
But no, our Italian is not that great. We know enough to get by. And go figure, hardly anybody in our town speaks English, but they're very nice. They really don't seem to mind. They work around that. So, it's a challenge, but
It's getting
doable.
better. It's getting
Doable.
better. I mean, each
Yeah.
time we go and, obviously with me now transacting a business and working with people that, don't always speak any English, I'm picking it up fast.
Our chef speaks, our chef speaks not a word in English.
Oh, okay.
Not a word. So we have to have the translator on when we do the FaceTime or the Zoom calls with him. Yeah, which sometimes things can be, misinterpreted, but
You'll have to get him to hire a couple of young people that as waiters that speak English, right? They can,
Yeah, quite a few of the young people do now, so that helps.
Yeah, I remember when I first started going to Italy, and I'd go to shop and I couldn't really speak any Italian at all. And so they would always run in the back or run next door, and they would grab the young person that could speak some English. So it's been funny. But I think the main thing is in Italy, I've always found people so accommodating that they really want to help. So if you don't speak English, they're not gonna push you aside, and they'll do what they can to.
Well, yes, and some of the older folks in town, I tell them that, I don't speak hardly any Italian, but it doesn't stop them. They still, I'm like, they just keep talking.
Okay, so the next question is from Brenda, and she's asking, do you use residency visas? And if so, do your children need their own visa? So this would be if you're staying for extended period of time.
Yes, that's a really good question. So we've kind of obviously looked into this over the years. In fact, we were planning to maybe at some point before COVID even move to Italy for a year, have the kids go to school there. And so we looked into all the different visas, residency visas, and how long you can stay if you're just a tourist. And We were always told back in time that the authorities aren't strict, but we've never risked, staying
I think
illegally.
now they are. So,
Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah,
so,
nowadays they really are. Yeah.
yeah. So we've looked at, Amber's got a grandmother that was 100% Italian. So we've looked at the ancestral route, but we've heard that that can take some time and take some money, a few
Yeah.
$1,000s. I was very fortunate in that because I'm a US citizen, but I still had my British passport from when I lived in London. During Brexit, I was able to use that to show that I'd spent time in Italy and spent time in Britain, and that was available to me. But I think the limit is, I think it's 90 days as a tourist, I believe. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So yeah. So we're in.
Yeah.
The United States is one of the participants of what they call this Schengen Treaty,
Mhm.
which includes US and most of the countries in Europe. I don't know the exact limits, but so it says that you can stay you can travel within the Schengen region, within those countries, and stay for 90 days. And after the 90 days, you have to go back to your home country for another 90 days. So,
Right.
and then you can go back, but you can't be outside of your country for more than 180 days in a calendar year. So there's actually on the Schengen visa site, there's information that will help you figure out like how long you can stay.
Yeah.
Or you can apply for a visa to Italy through the Italian consulate of your area. And then that way you can, I think that the visa is good for 10 years, but then you also in Italy have to register there and apply for what they call a permesso di soggiorno, which means permission to stay. And
Mhm.
that lasts for 1 year. So every year your visa covers you for the 10 years, but every year you have to update your
Yeah.
permesso that allows you to stay. So, and I know some people that have done that because they spend more than 3 months at a time in Italy. It makes it
Yeah.
easier for them. They have property there.
The
But
good thing
yeah.
is you can own real estate there without, having to have any kind of residency.
Exactly.
Yeah,
visa or
exactly,
permission.
yeah.
As an
Yes.
American or a Australian or a Brit, you're allowed to own property there.
Yeah, that's a
And
that's a
rent
really
it.
good thing to point out because
Yeah.
a lot of people aren't aware of that, and especially with the prices being as low as they are, and then once you buy the property taxes is almost negligible compared to
Yeah,
what we
it
pay for
is.
property
Smaller,
tax in
yeah.
the US.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you really wanted to spend a lot of time in Italy and bought a small apartment, you just maybe a couple $1,000s a year for maintenance kind of expenses, and you could come and go as you wanted.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so then I have a question from Kokla who says, congrats to Amber and Dal, it's fabulous. And then she's asking, how much did the total project cost? So maybe your restaurant renovation, how much do you think that's gonna,
Well, our restaurant,
if you feel comfortable sharing?
But
Oh,
still,
no. Well, they actually just, I know in the video I presented to you, I said the renovation would start in a few weeks, but they actually, it started last week.
Mhm.
So we've just been getting pictures in from the architect. They're peeling back all of the walls and exposing all the original beams and brick. And so the demolition has begun. But the original, we have two units that are going to compose of the whole property. And the first unit was how much? Was it 38,000 euro?
Yeah, like 38.
38,000 euro.
Yeah.
And the second,
It's 15.
15,000 euro. The renovation cost is projected. We don't know. We're guessing around 110,000 euro, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably going to be more than
More.
that.
It's always going to be
We-
more.
We've only really just got going, so on the renovation.
Yeah,
So hopefully
yeah, that's
that'll-
right, because
So we'll see.
it seems like whatever you spend on the property
Yeah.
itself, expect 2 to 3 times the cost. If you have to do a renovation, because these properties they don't have electricity, plumbing, or if they have it, it's not modern or safe. So you really have to redo it.
Well, and we're looking into different more innovative things like trying to install solar and things like that because of the energy costs going up there. However, with our chef coming in, he's bringing in all the equipment, refrigeration, a lot of furniture, a lot of catering furniture. So he's coming to the table with a lot of that stuff. So that's going to really help.
Yeah.
I think in terms of costs, I would say, especially on the renovation side, the costs getting close to where the US prices are, maybe, or maybe
Not quite, maybe
a little bit
a
less. Maybe,
yeah.
maybe a few years ago. But then there are surprises. When we first opened up our apartment doors and walked in there was a leak behind one of the sinks, and I was like, oh no! And then the realtor came, and she's like, oh, I'll call the plumber. And the plumber came, and he's like, oh, I can fix this. He ran down to the local store, picked up some parts, and I'm like, okay, let's see how much this is going to cost. And all we wanted was €10, including parts.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just blown away. I'm like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? But I think it's because he came through the realtor. But
So far, the construction quotes that are in we have 2 Italian brothers, local brothers, doing the demolition and renovation. I don't think it's that bad, honestly.
I feel like I'm getting ripped
it's
off, but
probably a lot less than it would cost for a U.S. property. The cave you saw, we don't know how old it is. It could be pre-Roman. They have to put a coating over it. That added, like there's certain things that might add up a little bit more than expected.
And I think, Natalie, you have experience of doing some work too. So I don't know what your experience was.
Yeah, it is, one of the properties came down through an inheritance, and then we just like bought the floor above us. And I would say if for every square meter, if you're starting from scratch and you have to do plumbing, electricity and all that, if you estimated about $1,000 per square meter, that would like really cover everything. But I think like the apartment that you bought where you didn't have to really go in and renovate it, that's why it's really worth it to buy one that is a turnkey, because if you had like renovated that and then tried to sell it, you never would have gotten the renovation money back. So, but like you can take advantage of the work that someone already did. The property for some reason just doesn't have the value like it does in the US, I think, because the population of Italy is really declining. So there's so much more supply than demand. So. Okay, it looks like we have one last question and we're getting close to the end. So we can do that question and then we're going to go ahead and end the session. And so the question is, Sam asked, mentioning the price of the apartment, it was €55,000. And what is the exchange rate or the dollar equivalent of that?
Yeah, so the exchange rate
right now
today is fantastic. It's almost 1-to-1. We haven't seen $1, €1 for over 20 years. So right now that would have been $55,000. When we purchased it 2.5 years ago,
probably like 62,000.
The exchange rate then was kind of hovering between 115 and 120. So it would have been
that's where it was for such a long time, right? It was like
it was kind of hovering around that area for the longest time. So it would have been, a 20% on top of that. So that would put you over 60,000. I don't know what that math is, 62,000 or something.
And then you did have, then you had $1,000 for the attorney, and I think it was probably 2,500 for the fees, and then you pay your 8% taxes up front. So you do have all those costs to keep in mind up front. But then, like you mentioned, Natalie, after that it's negligible costs.
Yeah, the maintenance costs pretty limited. Yeah, the realtors have that charge, which always surprises me. It's the buyers end up paying the realtor fee or some of it, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's not like in the US where you pay everything is kind of buried in the cost of the house, where with any of the taxes that you have to pay, the attorney, the realtor fee and everything else added, it usually adds about 10% of the sale price. So so with the exchange rate being so low, it feels like everything's 20% off in Italy right now.
It really is.
It's a really, and they're expecting, I was reading that they're expecting the euro to stay about on par with the dollar well into next year. So
it's a good time.
I hope we can get through our renovation before it switches back, because it'll make it much easier.
Right.
Okay, so we're at the end of the hour, and we have gone through all the questions. So we really appreciate everyone coming. And thanks, Amber and Dal. It was really such a wonderful presentation and great hearing from you about all of your experience. And I hope other people are starting to get inspired if they've been thinking about this for a while. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and close. And and the event recording is going to be uploaded on Italian Portland YouTube channel. And all attendees will receive an email with the YouTube link, and the email will be sent out in about a week after I get it downloaded and edited. And our next newsletter will be coming out soon, so watch that for announcements of more events. And we'll be closing the recording now, and thank you all so much for joining. And thank you, Amber and Dal. Again, I really appreciate you coming and all the time you've spent with me getting ready to do this presentation. It was so great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Natalie. It's been a real pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting you in Italy.
Yes,
Sometime,
absolutely.
we will see you
sometime
there.
soon. Okay. Alrighty, thank you.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Ciao.